Welcome. I'm Reverend Emily Gage. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm one of the ministers here at Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are here this afternoon to celebrate the life and mourn the loss of Patricia Alice Knabe, who died on March 6, 2026, just 11 days short of her 84th birthday. She had battled valiantly with cancer at the end of her life and had chosen hospice care. She died surrounded by loved ones at her daughter's home in Austin, Texas. Over her lifetime, Pat had so many roles, and she was so many things to so many different people: a daughter, a sister, a friend, a fellow student, a mom, an aunt, a traveler, a marathoner, a grandmother, known as Lola. This was only some of who she was. She was both fiercely independent and deeply connected to those whom she loved. There's a great quote from Diane Ackerman which says, "I don't want to get to the end of my life and find that I have just lived the length of it. I want to live the width of it as well." Pat was someone who lived both the length and width of her life, with humor, with curiosity, with passion, with vibrancy, with a spirit of adventure, and with great love. How lucky we are to have known her and been touched by her presence. It's our tradition in Unitarian Universalism to light a chalice to mark our time together as sacred. Braden and Nate, two of Pat's grandsons, are going to light our chalice this afternoon in honor of the gift of Pat Knabe's life, for all the stories and memories and love we shared with her, and all the ways she will continue to be with us in all of the days to come. Pat's grandson, Seamus, has a reading to share with us.
Remember me. To the living, I'm gone. To the sorrowful, I'll never return. To the angry, I was cheated, but to the happy, I'm at peace. And to the faithful, I've never left. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon a shore, gazing at a beautiful sea, remember me. As you look at awe at a mighty forest and its grand majesty, remember me. As you look at a flower and admire its simplicity, remember me. Remember me in your heart, your thoughts, your memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the times we fought, and the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will never be gone.
And Pat's granddaughter, Shannon, is also going to share a reading with us.
Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts, where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn. Your love was brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark, a further adventure of color. The sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you unfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its own being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. Though your days were here were brief, your spirit was alive, awake, and complete. We look toward each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything. To which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence. Besides us, when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and when music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love until we see your beautiful face again. In that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our mind, and where we will never lose you again.
If you are an old Broadway musical fan, or if you are in Pat's family, you might have recognized the notes of the song "Open a New Window" in the gathering music. It sounds a little like this: open a new window, open a new door, travel a new highway that's never been tried before. It's from the musical Mame, and it's a song that Pat often used with her kids to get them out of bed. And it became a song that got passed on to the next generation. Pat's daughter Megan told me she used it to wake up her kids too. Her granddaughter Shannon talked about it in a college essay. I love this song. And when Megan was telling me about it and its significance, I just kept thinking of how perfectly it captures Pat. The song continues, "The fella you ought to be is three-dimensional, soaking up life down to your toes. Whenever they say you're slightly unconventional, just put your thumb up to your nose and show them how to dance to a new rhythm, whistle a new song." All of this feels like Pat to me. I mean, look at the photo on the front of the order of service. Look at Pat's smile. This is, of course, how I picture her in my mind's eye with a bright smile. I've taken a look at a lot of photos of Pat in the past few days, and if you've seen that slideshow, you did too. They all seem to have that smile. I'm sure, I know that there were days when that was not the case, but even if she did not have a smile on her face, she always had such a bright spirit, a twinkle in her eye, and a zest for life, soaking up life down to her toes, and also encouraging everyone else to do so too. Pat was born on March 17, 1942, younger sister to Marilyn. She graduated from DeUville College in Buffalo, New York. She worked in science and medicine, first in Elmhurst and West Suburban Hospital here in Oak Park. Initially a clinical laboratory scientist, she eventually rose to a management position. And while she enjoyed and excelled at her work, I feel certain that she would have said her greatest roles were as a mom to Megan and Michael, and as a grandmother, as Lola to her grandchildren. Although Pat had lived in Oak Park for many years, she never came to Unity Temple until 2022. And that's when I was lucky enough to meet her. She came into Unity Temple the way she entered most spaces, I think, with curiosity and humor and heart. Her first visit was in May of that year, and she became a member by November. And like in most situations Pat found herself, she made deep and strong and lasting connections with the people around her. Her warm and inviting manner was just so powerful. Pat was someone who danced to her own rhythms, for sure. Not everyone would become marathoners in their 50s, running hundreds of races. She stayed active in all sorts of ways as long as she could, cycling along trails of Lake Michigan and Wisconsin, even including the last summer of her life. She volunteered to make the world a better place. She was a champion for women's rights. She wanted donations in her name to be given to Housing Forward, our local organization that seeks to end homelessness. Above all, maybe besides the centrality of love of her friends and family, Pat loved to travel. She was, as the song says, always ready to travel a new highway that had never been tried before. Let me just say this again. She loved to travel. And she traveled everywhere, to Austin and San Francisco to see her beloved children and grandchildren, and also everywhere else in the world, including Kenya, Korea, Egypt, Greece, Italy, Thailand, Scotland, Paris, England, Germany, and Japan, to name, a few. While she did love to travel with family and friends, she was also fine traveling by herself and making friends along the way. When I talked with Pat in January, anticipating the end of her life, she had already entered hospice care, and talking about her celebration of life, she remarked, "I've had a perfect life these last 10 years. No jobs, no kids at home. I could take off whenever I wanted. A perfect life," she said, for the past 10 years. So much of that is about Pat's attitude about life. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Pat's love for a good cocktail. If you need one, you can ask her grandchildren how to make them. She taught them. Another line of the Open a New Window song reminds us of what Pat might say. Toast with a new vintage. The fizz doesn't fizz too long. In the end, it is impossible to measure the impact of a life Pat touched so many people. This is just one account from the Schwab family in Austin, Texas. We have lived around the corner from the Gibbons family for 20 years. To us, Megan's mom was simply Lola, a name that brought an immediate smile. She had a special way of making people feel welcome and like they belonged. Her warmth, kindness, and genuine interest in others left a lasting impression on everyone fortunate enough to know her. She lived with grace and generosity. Her love for her family was evident in everything she did. We will always remember Lola with deep gratitude for the joy she brought into our lives and for the beautiful example she set through her compassion and strength. We wish we could be there to celebrate Lola's life and spirit. We take comfort in knowing that her spirit lives on in Megan, her family, and in the countless memories she created with those she loved. I couldn't have said it better myself. I also want to share this from Pat's obituary. We are certain that Pat will want us to all set off on an adventure, dabble in a bit of mischief, toast with a good drink, and tell those we love how much they mean to us. May it be so. The music that you are going to hear today has meaning behind it. This song, His Eyes on the Sparrow, was requested by Pat's friend Diane. Diane brought Pat to her church, and the choir sang this gospel song, and Pat cried like a baby. So we knew she would want to hear it at her celebration of life. We're going to have the gift of hearing from some of Pat's beloved people this afternoon. We're first going to hear from her friend Diane Wilson.
Okay, Pat and I met many years ago. And we met through the friendship of our daughters, Megan and Kiela. They met in kindergarten and became fast friends. Pat and I traveled a lot here in the States, also abroad. We went to Morocco, and we had gone out into the desert to watch the sunrise. Pat climbed this huge sand dune. And the operative word here is, I watched. No way. I watched her descend that sand dune on a blanket, just screaming to the top of her lungs as she, came down that thing. It was unbelievable, not something I would do. In Peru, just bear with me, in Peru, I'm sitting on the bed reading a book. Pat comes out of the bathroom and proceeds to dress. And I'm saying, wait a minute, there's a window there. I said, you know they can see you, right? She says, no, they can't. So I didn't argue, not at all. I simply put my book down. I went out the door, around to the front where the window was. And what do I see? I see Patricia doing a jig. And I said, how in the world does she think they can't see her? There are curtains, but they're sheer. I go back into the room, I pick up my book, and I say, I saw you. She looks at me like, really? Yes, I saw you. The one memory that I have is the day that I moved from Oak Park to New Orleans. Pat was standing on the sidewalk. Car was loaded. I'm ready to go. She looks at me and she's crying and she says, I can't believe it. You're going to leave me. You're actually going to leave me. Well, you've left me, my friend, and I miss you.
We're going to hear from Pat's friend, Patrick Maloney.
Good morning. Oh, it's afternoon, isn't it? Good afternoon. It's been one of those days. First, I want to say how honored I am to be here, and I want to thank Megan and Michael for asking me to be here to speak about Pat today. I know how much she loved you and all the tall and beautiful over here that she loved as well. I loved her dearly. I was blessed to have her in my life, and it made my life so much better. I actually wonder how many people in here, if I said, who's her best friend, how many people could raise their hand? There were so many of us. I bet it's more than a few. She was that kind of person. And I know I'm in a church, but if I didn't use a couple words that Pat would use, she would never forgive me. She was someone you could trust because she didn't bullshit you. about you or her. She knew who she was, and she knew how she felt and and you knew how deeply she felt. She knew when to use those strong arms to give you a hug or those strong legs to kick you in the ass. She was that kind of friend. I can say that again. This is a Unitarian church, right? I met Pat while we were out running. She was with, I think, Bob Hakes is sitting over there. And we just ran into each other and we started to talk, and we decided that we're going to run every Tuesday and Thursday together, get a little group going, and we ran for years and years. Eventually, she helped me train for the Chicago Marathon. She'd ride the Salt Creek Trail on her bike while I would sweat mile after mile, and she'd give me words of encouragement. And then on the day of the marathon, I crashed at mile 18, and my legs, my calves balled up, and I couldn't go any farther. And she came and put her arm around me and walked me the rest of the way, walked with me the rest of the way. And I walked, and we made it to the finish line, but I never forgave her. It was a moment I won't forget. We ran for many years until we didn't, like Forrest Gump. We just stopped. But we started walking and talking and going to, as she would say, coffee. We'd talk about Megan, Michael, my kid Riley, grandkids, dogs, our current ailments, maybe a new tennis bracelet, and some a-hole guy that used to leave stuff on Twitter the night before. Or how we had a big day of retirement ahead of us and had to go home and pick out the right outfit for our big event, going to the bank or Trader Joe's. Pat would correct me when I said she was from New Jersey. She would always say, though she loved the shore, she was a Philly girl with that toughness and a heart. She fought for her kids. She protected them, and she loved them with a fierceness that shaped who I think they became, which is, from what I can tell, pretty damn good. And Pat didn't stop there. She fought for us. She fought for Oak Park. She made it better. She volunteered at PADS. She worked at the Animal Care League. She worked at St. Edmunds collecting clothes. Anywhere she felt she could help, she would be there. She loved dogs, and they loved her, Stormy and the others, including my dog, Luke, who would pull me off the leash when he saw her a block away and run. One time he knocked me over, ripped my coat open, but he rolled over for one of those famous Pat belly rubs. I think he liked her better than he liked me. Now when Luke and I walk past Pat's condo, he looks at the door. He looks at me, and then he pulls me towards the door. And I look at him, and both of us move on, wishing we didn't have to. Pat and I walked through each of our first cancers together, taking away some of the fear through joking about who was worse. The second cancer came for me in first, and then for her. We cried until we could figure out a way to laugh about it. We just look at each other and know we were with someone who understood and who we were safe with. And then we'd bicker about which one of us would go first. She was one of the bravest, most courageous souls I ever met. Her courage still sustains me. Inevitably, our conversations would get back to the poor paint job of a nice house or that we passed by, or the great porches on Kenilworth. She'd always point out Megan's favorite house and or the poor architectural choices of the Nouveau Riche. But she wouldn't let her illness ruin a day or a walk. At the end of the walks, we hugged, and told each other, I love you. Not so easy for a Southside Irish boy and a tough Philly chick. There isn't a Tuesday or a Thursday morning on my walk alone with Luke that I don't still talk to her about how I wish I had her opinion about an old house, or an ailment, or some minor heartbreak, or joy in my life, or maybe an Amazon purchase, or what to wear to Trader Joe's. It's like she was with me for this other marathon I run, and walking with me the last few miles, telling me we've got this, and kicking me in the ass with those strong legs. I love you, my friend. Thank you.
We're going to hear from Pat's friend Carol Herbstritt.
So this is what it looks like from the pulpit. I give Frank Lloyd Wright tours, and this is kind of blowing my mind. Not hard to do. I feel so much love in this room and when I came in this morning, and that's because we're celebrating our good friend Pat Knabe. If I was forced to come up with one word to describe Pat, which is kind of a family game, but I'm not going to get into this, it would be fabulous. She was always game pretty much for everything, but she was always game for fun. As we've talked about, as we've heard, she ran marathons. I didn't know that she was a triathlete. She continues to amaze me even now that she's gone. We shared many, many fun outings and a few girls' getaways where I felt like I really got to know Pat. And I've only known Pat since the beginning of the pandemic. And I met her through my girl, Mary Wacker, and I feel so lucky and blessed, as everyone has said, to have had her in my life. These adventures I really will cherish for the rest of my life. And she was a woman of style and grace. Every time we'd pull down the driveway, pull up to her condo, we would watch Pat, or at least I would, come down the elevator, doors would open, and she'd come through those double doors, and it was like her catwalk. She was on a fashion runway, and she flippin' killed it every single time. It was some sort of, seasonal hat that was cocked in a certain way and perfect. Some shawl or scarf that, just accented an outfit in just the right way. Not even going to get into the shoes. The well-heeled just doesn't cover it at all. There was a pair of gorgeous brown leather boots, I think, that she got from some of her travels, and so the footwear was always would kick off her stories of her travels and things like that. I've got a really cute story about the style and grace thing. She confided in one of her best friends that when she knew that this last Christmas holiday was going to be somewhat compromised, she was like, "Oh wow, I'm not going to be able to wear all those cute outfits, that I just bought." So I think that really does, give you an idea of how How Pat was. There was a couple of times that we visited a steak joint, okay, that I had never heard of. I'm born and raised in this area, and it was in McCook. I'd never heard of McCook. I didn't know where we were going in the car. Everything was, and it was called JC's. I don't know. Let's see a raise of hand of anyone who's been to JC's with her. Okay, so I had heard about JC's. And it was, just like a supper club in Wisconsin, just what you would think about it. It was dark, dimly lit, little candles here and there. She said, "Oh yeah, they pour the best drinks. You'll get a really good cocktail there." And she was just a dame. She was a dame there, and we had a couple really fun outings there. She was in her element. And I was also to find out that there was many sides to Pat. Patrick mentioned, and we've heard about her generosity of spirit. I know she volunteered here at Unity. She gave her time and talents to the migrant ministries at St. Edmunds. And we had a fun day at the Greater Chicago Food Depository one time. Her family was her heart, and she was so proud of Patrick, and she was so proud of Megan and Michael, who I just got to meet today, and of course her grandchildren. She planned trips, one-on-one trips with her grandkids, and she would plan them depending on their interests. I've always felt up to date as to what they were doing, and so she was a woman of style, a woman of strength and conviction, and she was true to herself and lived fully on her own terms. She had a great laugh, and she sparkled like the brightest star in the sky. I am proud, and I am lucky to have known Pat Knabe.
We're going to hear from Pat's friend, Judy Mangos.
Hello, everyone. Pat lived across the hall from me for 24 years. I asked Megan, I'm a 12-year Catholic school girl. She moved across the hall in 2002. I'm very reverent. I made sure I could say some of the things I could never say in a Catholic church. But that's bad. And I was given permission. So, excuse me. It's all good. But I'm going to let it rip. So I moved into my mom's condo, bought it from my family estate. This spunky little one moved in across the hall. I thought, she seems like fun. I should be able to handle this, right? But it was quite something. And the memories started in 2002, let's just say that. So she was a working girl, much like myself, and we got to know each other. And we are a family at the KTA, and the family just continued to grow. So we, like things have been said, we share so much together, and we share these memories. And I might go on a little bit long, but 24 years, we made a lot of good memories together. We've some of them might be a little difficult to hear, and I shared a little bit together. Some of the stories were blown out of proportion. The kids might be a little disappointed in that. But as single women, we decided that we were going to take some liberties in some of the things we did. And that's just part of being single women, that we took our things that we decided to go through. Last fall, we had a memory of Mame together, and I never knew that was such a, that's how she woke you guys up, and I'm sorry for that because her voice is no better than mine, but yet we felt that we were very talented singers. And last fall, we watched not only the B. Arthur version, but then we also watched the Lucille Ball version together. and sang together and cried, because I'm the crier of the two of us. But yet, when she needed me, we cried together. We laughed together. We laughed together so hard we peed in our pants many times, and that was okay. It's just what we do. And you will too one day. Maybe not the boys, but it's okay. You can always change your pants. Many of us all do it together on the third floor. Okay, so back to my notes. We really have fun. Although we're very different, I'm the optimistic and mostly have a very sunny disposition on life every day. Pat in her mid to later years was enjoying what I'm going to say was, I can do whatever the F I want, whenever the hell I want to do it. And she did. And that's just the way she went through life. My favorite memories are when she decided that, who's this guy Tim? My best friend since I was 14 years old was gay. And she said, I want a gay friend. Where do I get one? And then, better than that, I think I'm just going to take Tim. So I said, well, he's not available and you can't have one. So she came with us one night looking for a gay friend, and it just wasn't that easy for her. Then she loved having parties, and we would have progressive parties from condo to condo, up and down the hall, and it kind of got out of hand, so then we stopped having them after a while, but we really enjoyed ourselves, and other floors would, get involved, and we just enjoyed ourselves and made, again, our family grow. And people don't really understand that a bunch of strangers could get together, but that's who we are. Okay, wine and movie nights, that would get carried away. And sometimes people wouldn't leave, and we usually end up at my house. Or the First Friday would also take place in the lobby. And then one night, I got a call, and I was working still, loser, up at my house. And then I got a call that they were losing control in the lobby, and I had to order pizzas. And then they came up to my house to eat. One of, who's not here, so I could talk about her, called her son and said, I think I found you a new baby daddy. And it was just so cute. Called her son to say, yeah. So we had a little matchmaking thing going on as well. Again, KTA is the best place to be. Pat, like many other neighbors, whether it was winter or summer, would put on one, maybe two sweaters because I keep my house very cold. And that's just the way it was. Blankets are available if anybody needs one. She was the only one on the floor in the building that always would clean her ears with me. I think cleanliness is next to godliness. So I found this thing, and my sister Elaine, who's here, we would lay sideways, and you put this wax cone, and you'd set it on fire, and no one else would do it with us. And then I would get jealous because Pat had more wax build up in her ear than I would. So I'm just like, and I always paid for them too. But she would have, and then she'd be so happy because she could hear for a while. But we just had so much fun, and she was always up for something. And then, you were talking about going to JC's and her, cute little outfit that she was so skinny all the time. Well, it was like a sorority floor. Our doors were always open, and she'd come over, does this look better? Does this look better? What should I wear? And, on and on and on. So we did have a fashion show, and we were like sisters of who wore best, or not who wore best, but making sure that we looked good. One time, I asked some neighbors if this was appropriate for me to wear, and they would just laugh. And, I thought I looked cute, and they would just laugh at me. One happened to be here. Or she would call me, or she would text, are you busy? No, I work from home. I'm working. And it was, I just went to Divine Consign, her favorite place in the world. Some people love Marshalls or Home Goods. Pat loved Divine Consign. So we would rearrange all the furniture, or we would rehang pictures. Those were her favorite things. Moving pictures, rearranging, the fake privacy screen, or what she called the duck blind that's still on half of her balcony, because she wanted to drink in a t-shirt with no bra on and her underpants, in her red Adirondack chair. That was a good night for Pat. Sharing Stormy between the two of us. Who would have Stormy? That was our neighbor's dog that she and I would share. It was just, he brought us great joy and still does. Laughing until, I wrote that. Again, we peed a lot, so we would laugh until we peed our pants. I wrote it twice. Then we thought, we're gonna just date. It would be nice to date and go out with, a significant other, go to dinner. What the heck? So I helped her with her profile. I was better at it than she was because sometimes she volunteered too much information that wasn't necessary. Less is more is more. Sweet Pat gave me that lesson, but I'm on the opposite side of it. We met a couple guys. She met this gentleman on a motorcycle. I said, have you ever been on a motorcycle? I'm sorry, am I volunteering too much information? She's gone, she can't yell at me anymore. And she yelled at me a lot. But, so she gets on this, I said, I need to know where you are. I'm putting Life 360 on my phone, so I know, so I could come and get you wherever you are. Because she knew I would. Not everybody on the floor would come get her, but I would. So, this man, who I don't know from Adam, if we'd done I have a friend who's a police officer. I could do a quick check on him. She got home safely. We never told the kids things because they didn't need to know. They're in different states. I need to know, that's all. And she was safe. She had a nice time. That was, I think, the second date. But it was the last date because she decided he wasn't for her and she had crotch rot for a motorcycle, she's better off in a car than on a motorcycle. So we decided that. But then the best one was we were each, going on these dates. Dating is awful. Find a nice single man. If you're married, stay married. It's not good out there. It's just awful. But we were dating, and the more we're talking, and I would help and I'd read because she wasn't good at figuring out if they were had foot fetishes. This guy was always asking me what shoes I was wearing. I'm just like, don't ask me about my feet. Feet are ugly. Women have ugly feet. Anyway, we figured out we were both talking to the same man. And there was an age difference between the two of us. And we were laughing, and we decided we were gonna have him catch him. Have him meet both of us, one Friday night, one Saturday night at the same. That's, again, why we pee laughing, because it's so much fun. So anyway, I love your grandma. I love your mom. You know that. And we just had so much fun. Okay, but I'm not going to cry yet. Tom Luttrell, another neighbor. He gets ill. He's a scratchy old man. He's like a weeble. He's so tall and so skinny, and I am the feeder of the build. I make sure people eat. You need to sustain and get protein. So I decide this man, I'm going to cook every Thursday night. We're going to have meals, and then he gets leftovers. And so he either eats at my house, and again, I'm working, the only one still working. So on Thursday night, he has to have dinner at 5 o'clock, and he gets himself down there with his walker, and Pat and some of the other ladies come over. I don't think we had any men at that time, but he comes over, and only 4 meals, so we rotate those 4 meals, and he dies. But then the next Thursday, who's at my door waiting for the meal but Pat? I'm just like, he's dead, and I'm not cooking for you people anymore, because no one else offers to cook. It's just me. So cook for yourselves. Okay, that was a good one. And then, say privacy screen, yeah. So we just have so many wonderful memories. And then she'd come home from a trip, whether she was in New Orleans or she's, visiting you guys and visiting California. She loved California and loved the gardens and loved the weather and, of course, loved the wine. Imagine her poor sweet liver. That never got sick. But, you know, and Megan would come and things would be organized. I thought I'd cleaned before my sisters came over. Megan came over, and I had to arrange things so that they were very tight because Megan would come and clean out all Pat's cabinets. It was amazing. Okay, so COVID came, we missed each other, we can't see each other, we can't talk, so I got a yardstick, we were all 6 feet apart on a diagonal, and I have a great picture of it that's in our house. We support each other at KTA. She ran, she cycled, she hiked, we were all still home, happy. We didn't do any of that with her, but that's okay. I was there when she got home. We've been through a lot of replacements together. Kidney cancer, shingles. She'd come to my house, she'd open the door, and she's all covered. I'm just like, you have shingles, get out of my sight. Go in there, call, I will get whatever prescription you need, but you can't see me. Oh, how about, I fell off my bike, swing by Evanston and pick me up. Okay. Or, I left the keys in my car, swing by Wheaton and come and get me, and bring the extra set of keys. And I'd get whoever I could get from the floor to come with me, promising them an ice cream cone. Because it was easy if I gave them something along the way. But we stick together, and that's what we do. We're a family. If she can't be with her family and her beautiful grandchildren, she's with us. So that's what we did. And in the end, we said we're either going to save enough money to go to Seattle to take that pill and die together, or she knew that I would help her die. And I've had the privilege to help other people die, and it was a gift. And I did it as long as I could. And then Michael and Megan and sweet Shelley and Pat came, and we died, and she left. And they called me at 10:30 that night. I said, where are you guys? Are you out caravanting and whooping it up somewhere? And Megan just cried and said she's gone. So she did what she wanted to do. I love you all. Sorry for swearing.
And we're going to hear from Pat's son, Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here today for Pat's celebration of life. My name is Mike Willie, or as my mother would insist, Michael. Many of my high school friends over here can attest to that, as they would experience calling the house and ask for Mike, in which my mom would simply reply, "There's no one by that name living here," and she would hang up on them abruptly every time. And then they would call back. So Megan and I are Pat's children, and we divided up her end-of-life responsibilities evenly. Megan took the responsibilities of executor, providing her personal care in her last days, organizing hospice, packing her up and relocating her to Texas, paying her bills, wrapping up her finances, cremating her, organizing this ceremony, contacting everyone here, and making sure everything happened. I oversaw the scattering of the ashes and get to deliver this eulogy. So until now, it felt like I drew the long straw. But you'll have to bear with me when I take some pauses and get through this. Pat, like most children's mothers, meant the world to me and Megan. She was our first teacher, our earliest emotional blueprint, our harbor of safety when life felt like a turbulent storm, and sometimes our voice of reason. Sometimes. In our formative years, she was our role model and dispensed advice to us, both good and bad, while we ate breakfast at the kitchen table of our Oak Park home. Usually around 7:30 before heading off to school while eating a bowl of cereal, we would spend quality time with my mom while she enjoyed her breakfast of champions, a martini, and a cigarette. Pat worked the night shift at West Sub, a few blocks down the road from our Humphrey home, and this was our bonding time as she would wind her day down and prepare us for ours. Pat was not only a mother, she was a rebellious daughter, of a very curmudgeon-y grandmother that we adored and called Mama. She is survived by her older sister Marilyn, who's watching right now, and she loved and spoke with her daily before her passing. She thought of Marilyn's late husband, Jack, as a brother. He was a man our family deeply admired. During our family reunions at the shore, Pat was unlikely to retire to bed as early as Mary and Jack. She was the fun aunt who would insist on staying up and partying with the rest of us and her nephews and niece, only to be shushed at 2 in the morning when good judgment was impaired by lots of alcohol, funny cigarettes, and the yarns of tales were still loudly being woven by us all. Pat was a mother-in-law to Patrick and Shelley, our spouses. And she quickly became family to our own in-laws who are here today. Of all the things me and Megan inherited from my mom, I'm happy to say that her poor judgment in partners was not one of those things. So thank you for that. From these families bore her 4 grandchildren that sit here, the people who probably brought her the most joy in the last 2 decades of her life, and the ones who called her Lola. She adopted this name over that of becoming another mama, not only because of its euphemism, but because to her it simply sounded younger, and that's how she wanted to be portrayed. She wanted to be the young grandmother. Pat and her grandchildren shared travels, secrets, and had an infectious juvenescence that brought so much joy to everyone around them. Although she could seldom tolerate other people's children, she was so proud of the unique relationship she shared with each of the 4 of you. She wanted nothing more than to explore the ends of the earth with the 4 of you. Pat was a close friend to so many different circles of people I see and have met in this room today, in this community. And not because you provided her with a place to stay in New Orleans all the time, not because she would retreat to Florida as a reprieve from the cold Chicago unforgiving winters, or to Indiana to spend Thanksgiving with friends. Her friend circles spread both far and wide, but she always returned to her neighbors and to Judy and the community in her Kenilworth Street home, which apparently they did a lot of peeing on the floor, I guess. She was appreciative of all of your friendships and the love that you shared, and she spoke of you often. Mom did so many things throughout her lifetime and was talented in so many ways. She was a woodworker, a knitter, a ballroom dancer, a true craftsperson. As a med tech at West Sub, she drew and analyzed blood from patients and was part of a medical team that helped ailing people feel better. This skill came in particularly useful when she would check in to see what drugs her high school kids were taking, as she would randomly draw our blood while we were half asleep, only to run lab tests in the evening on her night shift. So, Diane, you may have had suspicions about what Aaron and Kiela were doing, but my mom knew exactly what was going on. She had medical data. So, Mom was attracted to the science of this work when she was young, and I believe it spoke to her intrinsic desire to help others. She was intensely curious about the world around her and how it connected to people. Although she worked hard to provide for us as a family, the only role she took on as joyfully as being a retiree was that of a grandmother. After decades of being a lab technician, take a stab at employment independence with a failed coffee roasting business, and finally saving enough to support her insatiable travel habits, she threw herself into her retirement passions. Throughout retirement, Pat gave back selflessly to the community in so many ways. As someone who refused to slow down and someone who was attracted to shiny things like medals, she took up running in her 50s, completed dozens of races. She not only would compete in these events, but volunteered to work and organize them, building a new community of friends around her, many of whom are here today. Who knew that race recovery and carbohydrate replacement could involve so many martinis? Even though the race distances transitioned from marathons to 5Ks to maybe even an e-bike ride along the waterfront instead, the martinis continued with these friends for decades and well into her last few months. Pat was restless. She donated her time at food and clothes shelters, helping those in need. She remained a staunch supporter of women's rights and social justice throughout her life and became more vocal as these eroded to what they seem to be today. I know for certain that Pat is not happy with the state of the world we're inheriting, but it isn't for a lack of her trying. If anything, we should be inspired by her work and carry it forward to the future generations. Even though Pat lived a fulfilling life of travel, adventures, good food, drink, surrounded by so many of you family and friends, it was always evident to me she still wasn't ready to pass, and she desired one more. One more of all of it. Rather than reflecting on how rich her life was in her final days, she was still focused on what lay ahead, what she had left to accomplish, and the things she still desired to do. Her passing for me was abrupt, even though I knew it was coming. I knew it was inevitable. I worried often of her discontentment until I realized she was teaching me one more lesson. Chase the enjoyment in every bit of life, up until the very last laugh, the last mile, the last bite, the last sip, the last hug, the last kiss, and the last breath. As Albert Einstein, the great German scientist and philosopher, once stated, our death is not an end if we can live on in our children and within the younger generation. For they are us. Our bodies are only wilted leaves on the tree of life. Pat was so many things to so many different people in this community, and although her work is not yet over and her physical presence is wilted, this tree continues to grow. Her stories of love will continue to blossom amongst the branches of the leaves that are still here today. She will live on within our hearts and our memories if we continue to uphold her beliefs and share them throughout the communities, throughout our own communities. So I believe the best way we can honor her life is to live our own lives up to the fullest, as she would do, all the way up to the finish line.
This song, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Pat requested to have at this celebration, and it was special because she and Michael danced to it at his wedding.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I won't lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, comfort you. I'll take your part. When darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled waters. I will ease your mind. Oh, oh.
And so it is that our hearts are full of stories and full of memories. And so it is that life calls us to love one another deeply and well and fully, and then also find that loss is part of that. It is just as it is in Mary Oliver's poem, Blackwater Woods. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends upon it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. We gathered this afternoon with a mixture of emotions, with joy and sorrow, with sadness and gratitude. There is joy in the life that we shared with Pat. There is joy in the fact that she lived 83 gloriously full years. At the end, she went out on her own terms. And yet, still, of course, there is sadness. There is sadness because always, when someone we love and care for has died, there is sadness. We make meaning by marking death in a service like this. We take comfort in being together. In times like these, we need one another in empathy and consolation and courage and wisdom to share our stories and sadness and laughter and gratitude. As we sit together in this shared time, may our hearts be filled with gratitude for the gift of Pat's life and all that she meant to us. May we know we are not alone but connected in community. May we feel our memories and love and stories enfolding us and comforting us in our grief in all the days to come. After the closing words and music, you are invited to join us in the foyer, across the foyer in Unity House for a reception, and you'll be able to watch the slideshow again, too. Our closing words are a part from Tracy Barrett Welser. Our grief is a holy thing. It is proof that another life touched ours in a profound way. It is the mark of love, the mark of connection, and the mark of a life well lived. We will mourn, we will cry, we will miss Pat. Time will move on, and we may not hurt like we hurt now. But then a thought or a bit of music or some experience will remind us of her, and it will all come back. Those moments, too, are holy. They're reminders of that connection that will never fully go away. It's important to hold on to that connection because it is through those memories that Pat stays with us. And our memories of her, that love and connection stay alive, and with it, a part of Pat. We shared some of those memories today. There's so many more within our hearts and minds. Hold on to those memories. Tell the stories that make you smile and laugh, the stories that make you cry. Share the memories with people who knew her and even people who didn't. May they remind you of the beauty of Pat's life, of her joy and enthusiasm and love and her connection to us. And may it bring you peace on this day. Amen. And this last song is by Pat's special request.
I think if Pat were here, she'd want us all to sing along. Yes? So feel free. Feel free. I can see clearly now the rain has gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Think I can make it now the rain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Yeah, it's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day.